Good morning. Oh, we got shitload more snow. Oh my god. I kind of re-injured myself last time we had snow. I was just starting to. It takes a lot to get me into a hospital or whatever, just because of all the ops I've had and dealing with the medical association in the past. It's a luck of the draw. It's rolling the dice. Every time you deal with that crowd, that society, especially now, since the corporate body politic we call Canada turned around and got rid of the Hippocratic Oath out of our medical association, which I bet you lots of you guys don't know that, which is why they're able now to force, to extort hospice folks into offering euthanasia. Euthanasia, you mean to murder somebody, to homicide. That's what you're doing. It's just killing people. You're killing people. You're taking advantage. Like, the hot spice is there with a constitution. Now, I realize that governments and most societies, corporations do not live up to their charters, mandates, or constitutions. I realize it's all words, because right now they're laughing at you and I, all the little people, their labor force or their energy. We're giving them their life force, their energy. They're sheep, they're migrant workers. They laugh at us because we don't know how to hold them accountable, because we all been dumbed down, and thanks to the past, with certain other, folks during the past who have abused the courts. Well, not abused, still recognize. Well, almost don't recognize the courts, but just because all the tomfoolery that's gone on in the past, trying to get a case heard at court is ridiculous. I mean, there's no law that forces anyone to get themselves an agent to represent them as a legal person, especially if I don't wish to be represented as a legal person. Yeah, that's not my wish, But yeah, the Chilliwack Hospice outfit there, so they got a letter of extortion, right? A document saying, hey, you either offer to kill, you either offer the people in your hospice to kill them off, or you lose your funding after they worked and built. And the whole idea of hospice is not because people want to die, but people are going to die for whatever reason in a very short period of time. And the idea of the hospice is to care for the man or woman or young person or young one. Sorry about the person bit, but to care for the young one, the man or woman, so that they can have their final days together with their family. Now, our public service, these shills that have gone to university, most of them became lawyers or losers in whatever they took, women's studies or whatever, and now became politicians. The attack on the family unit has been going on within Canada since, when did I first recognize? Well, probably the 80s, when the government decided they had a right to come in and tell you that you couldn't use corporal punishment on your kids. Now, at that time, I was like, hey, yeah, fuck you, no, this is my property, my castle, my threshold, my rules, my law. All right. And who are you to administrate the property of I? Seriously, who the hell do you think you are? Well, we're your co-parent. So, I can't get away. I did that show on persons out of my truck when my internet was down. I wonder if I still got that kicking around. But I did that show on persons, explaining what I see as the three basic persons, right? And I think I still got it here. I'm sitting here, I sit for days and I'm scribbling shit. I got ideas, I wish to talk about and speak about. And, it's too funny. It's too funny. What the hell do I got here? Hang on. So anyone within BC, I sure hope you don't hate your fellow man enough to allow the Horgan, whatever the fat fucker's name is, government to extort a society that is there for the good of us, for the good of folks, something good for folks. I mean, it's not that they, when they do the euthanasia, they don't kill them in the hospice anyways. They get sent back to the hospital to get killed, right? So, and that's what they're doing. They're killing people, right? You get rid of the Hippocratic Oath, and we have a whole whack of doctors, and we have a whole whack of doctors and healthcare workers coming from other nations that may not be common law lands, that may not have. Now, you know what? Most countries are pretty tight with their families. You look at the Middle East, they're pretty tight with their families. You look at India, they're pretty tight with their families from what I've seen. You look at what used to be the Eastern Bloc behind the Iron Curtain, they're pretty tight with their families. Maybe Canada's just gone full tart. We're so self-centered and don't give a fuck about anybody else. If it's not affecting us, that there's, go ahead and kill them. What good are they, right? And how many folks, how many of our elders have our public servants destroyed, killed off, using the pandemic as their excuse? And they're look at Como in New York. What the fuck's with that guy hiding the numbers? 50% plus of the old folks, he's putting in people who are sick in old folks' homes. Yeah, that guy's a piece of shit, man. But I don't want to get off. But I'm always getting, everything always leads me back to the person, it seems. Now, everything shows up backwards. For some reason, I'm having a problem with my Streamlabs, so that I go to do a live stream through the Streamlabs. It goes on for a minute and it sticks me on, but I can't record and show nothing. But because there's, I wrote up some stuff, and I have a lot of stuff up on my, and I just wish to show you a few things. But yeah, so what was I talking about? The the legal person, the third person, the infant, the lunatic. Okay, so what we have here is we have the tail wagging the dog, which I did state before. We have those who have a duty, obligations, and responsibility to the public, and what they're doing is they've twisted this around to rule the public. Okay, and claiming that because you identify as a citizen, as a Canadian citizen, then, or an American citizen, or an Australian citizen, or an English citizen, because you identify as that third person, that citizen. Okay, I mean, citus is the root word for citizen, and it literally means shit. So it's Latin, right? Now. So, okay, so, you're the infant, you're lunatic. Well, that creates a co-parent, right? And see, so now what the government is doing, what these public servants are doing, because there's no woman and no man standing that have stood up Okay. What we have is we have disgruntled civil servants that haven't taken the test yet. That's a Reagan quote. Okay. But what we have here is we have a bunch of disgruntled citizens. Okay. A disgruntled bunch of infants, lunatics. So we must bring the hammer down. Okay. Because because you are the infant and they are the co-parent. That's the way it's all being portrayed. Nobody realizes. Oh, fuck, I was just listening. I got up this morning. I was having a coffee. Oh, man, we got a dump of snow. I got to take care of this snow. Well, but I'm feeling better. Last time there, I was almost ready to go to the hospital, but third day, and then I had a hot bath, and all of a sudden, fuck, hey, I felt pretty good. Yeah. I do not want to rip this up this time, so I do my best, just take it easy. Don't, I'm not 30. I'm not even 40. I'm not even 50, and I got less gray hair than half of you guys between 30 and 50. Mind you, I'm missing half of my fucking hair too, but I blame that on helmet laws. I've always built strokers my whole life. I've always ridden performance Harleys, that I built for me. And that stupid helmet, in the wind doing this, rubbed all my goddamn hair off, ended up down in my neck. I don't know how the hell that happened. Anyways, so yeah, listening to Mark Friesen this morning. He was interviewing an XOPP, a guy who did act as XOPP one time, and it's cool. And I mean, I think people might be starting to clue in, but you don't want to wait too long to start cluing in. I mean, who exactly gave the public servants, civil servants, societies, organs, organizations, who gave them the right to administrate my property? Okay, who gave them to? Did you give them the right to administrate your property? Because that's what they're doing. They're administrating your property. The right to breathe is your property. That's property. All right. The right to forage a living, to forage the necessities of life is your right. Your patrimony, to access your patrimony from this land should be a right, but it seems to be a privilege only for those who claim to act on your behalf as your servant, as your public servant, or some kind of legal organization that's going to help society. I'll say this to anybody, and I have said this, at court, like at a real court, with a real justice, with looking at real penalties, and I did explain to the court. It might have been a bit of a lecture, but I did, and I was talking to the man who did act as prosecutor, looking at the justice, the man in the black robe. I said, when I became a man, I also became a husband and a father. That is my society. And nobody has a right to interfere with I or my society. What right does that man have to force his fellow man, to force another man into his society? We have, and I honestly, I think it's by design, but we have strange bunch of folks that are changing definitions of words just like on the whim, just changing things, reversing things, right? Doing the reverse onus through words. But if you're at court, your words are exact. Your words are magical. Your words can put you behind bars in a cage in shackles, or your words can set you free. Now, what's going on with these younger folks, because they're not taught, they're just not taught. Like, how many folks actually know what the word nice actually means? It means fool. Yeah. It literally means fool. So that's one of my code words. I say, oh yeah, no, he's a nice guy. Or I'm sure he's a nice guy, which is just an opinion. Yeah. Look it up. Use Edom Online Dictionary. Check it out. Check it out. You'll be interested. You know, if you look at the word in, okay, it's 2 letters, 1 syllable. There's documentation this long on the etymology of the word. So, you know, you think you're so smart because you use 16 syllable words and 6 syllable words and stuff. But the more syllables in a word, the more it's open for interpretation. The more the other side can turn it and say, well, you said. Right? I mean, I've heard that all my fucking life anyways, you know. But I said this, well, that wasn't my intent. Okay? And it's like they're doing to you know, Mr. Trump. You know, like that, if that isn't just a blatant attack on a man. So I'll just go off here for a minute, you know. So what I seen was, okay, you know, he's a character for sure. Okay. But what I seen was an outsider come in, get the vote of the people, and try to clean house. Really, mostly, he had everything to lose. His family had everything to lose by him doing this. And so he goes, because he loves his country, it seems, you know, he goes to get things straightened back out, but didn't realize how deep the swamp was, how vast the swamp was. Now, what I see on the other side, it doesn't matter about political stripe, but I see a lot of mean-spirited legal persons attacking him out of spite. It's all out of spite. They just want to ruin him because he did wish to fix his country. Now you look at ours. Look at our country. Look at this country. It's so corrupt and bathed in bullshit. I mean, this fucking goof, you know, this clown, right? He's going to be this heritage dude. He's going to be the new speak police. Listen, man, they're already doing this. They're doing this in Scotland. They're doing this in England. Where else are they going to do this? But it's only a fine line. Like that dude that operates as a heritage minister has a duty, obligation, and responsibility to the public. And not only citizens are in public. Okay, there's those of mankind. And so, but it's a fine line. You start teaching your kids. Like, look at the lie they taught our kids for the last 30 years about this global fucking climate, you know, end of the world scenario. Look at the bullshit they taught our kids about you know, the theory of evolution. And what was the theory? It should be taught as a theory if you're going to teach it. It's not science. It's a theory. Well, it's a scientific theory. You know, global warming is a bad modeled scientific theory. They're doing the same thing with this Kung Flu thing. Same models in that. You couldn't have a proper debate over the climate. You can't have a proper debate over something that is affecting zillions of lives, right? But now what we have here is we have public servants, okay, that believe they are loco parentis, co-parents. And so you bought in a number of years ago. The first time publicly I ever saw the whole thing about this whole co-parent thing was in Ontario, when they, without a warrant and everything, searched the man's house, arrested the man, took him to prison, or took him to a cop shop, put him in jail, accused him of whatever he accused, because him and his daughter liked to fight the monsters with Nerf guns. There was a game they played. Yay. I thought at the time, Ontario would be livid. I thought the people would be rioting in the street. Nobody cares. So what was that? That was 10, 15 years ago, max. So here we go. Today, now self-proclaimed co-parents are taking your property out of the school and sauntering them off to, Nazi experimental doctors to change them. When everybody knows, when you're a teenager, what is it, like 12 to 18, man, everything's raging, everything's new, everything's under discovery, right? Leave the frickin' kids alone. But we couldn't stand up for that. I mean, the only one I see is Laura Lynn and some other, and the guy that, and his wife, who are separated, but both fighting for their kid. But they're both coming in as third person. They're both going to entering the court as legal persons. So they're infants also. So they have to have legal representation, right? So they're being represented as a legal person, right? Because they can't hold their own court. They're not mature. They haven't come to their manhood or womanhood to hold court, right? Court's not a big mystery on the common law side. That's pretty straight up. If you or I cause somebody harm, loss, or injury, then we are a debtor to our fellow man, and we need to straighten out the debt. And there's a couple of ways to do it. You have your eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, but you also have your forgive them 7 times 70 if your neighbor asks for forgiveness, which is a key. Your neighbor asking for forgiveness. I just helped a young lad write a letter to somebody who acts as a legal person that sent him a letter of extortion by way of threat. Explaining to him, hey, I'm willing to forgive you if you ask, right? But this is fair warning, and it needs to stop. All right. So there's something I wrote up on Word, and I never, like I say, I've been having problems with the for some reason, live streaming through Streamlabs. So, but, now this is probably going to show up backwards because of the camera. Okay. But this is how your public service, legal society, this is how they see you. So YOU, right? The word you means you owe us. It's an acronym. You owe us. Now, I always say that you is plural, but not limited to two. Right? Now, my only question to the legal society, it says you owe us. And that's what they're saying. Every time that you're dragged off to court or that you're invited to court, somebody is saying you owe a debt. Means debt. Somebody says you owe a debt. All right. That's what they're saying. It's not about right or wrong. It's just about, do you owe the debt or do you not owe the debt? Well, if I do not wish to partake in your society, how the hell do I owe you a debt? Who the fuck are you to me? The only debt I owe you is not to cause you harm, loss, or injury as my fellow man. I don't give a fuck what your title is, and I don't care how you act, what act you play. Okay. But I only care about how I act and how the property of I acts, the young ones that I did author onto this planet. Okay. So my question, you know, is this: when they call me you, and in my soul, this is what I think. I want to know. I know, a fucking boomer tech, right? So you, why I owe you? Why I owe you? So when they call a man or a woman you, right? They're obviously binding you to something. Okay, they're tricking you, right? And now I wish to know why I owe you. You say I owe you. You say I owe a debt. Why do I owe you a debt? I think I've mentioned this in the past. Like if you're at court, right? You know, you hear your name. They used to do a loudspeaker, but if they really want to fuck with you, they don't call your name in the hallway anymore. And they just hold court and say you didn't show up and get a default judgment, and then you have to go do a stat deck to let them know that you're in the hallway and your name wasn't called, so on and so forth. Legal shit, right? So, but if you're at court and you hear your name, right, and then so you walk up there, right? They never charge the name; they only charge you. Okay, because they're saying that you're an actor under our authority within our society. Okay, and the man is a guarantee of the actor. Okay, guarantee, the guarantor of the act. All right, so basically you're the trustee of that actor, and you're the one that's supposed to make sure that that actor acts in a certain way. But the only problem is I don't have a legal person. And in full disclosure, I'm a legal idiot. I'm not competent to partake in the legal society. I'm not a legal code decipherer. I have no legal person. Please forgive me. Now, who says I do wrong? Who says I do wrong? Well, if nobody says I do wrong, what'd you bring me here for? What am I doing here? I know why I'm here. Because if I didn't come here, some goon with a gun is going to put me in shackles and throw me in a cage until you guys have me up here. That's why I'm here. It's very stressful. It's a burden to carry. It's a very heavy burden to carry. Now, why have you put this burden upon my shoulders? What right do you have to force your fellow man, to force your fellow man, to act within your society, to be seen as a driver, to be seen as a legal person of any kind? Well, it's presumed. Why is it presumed? Because there's a birth certificate. And, well, have you ever given fair warning? Well, should I have to? I'm here right now. Swear me in. Swear me in. I'll enter into your court now. So right till that point, I was at court. Now I'm in court. And be careful about out and in. Okay? All the to hold court, all the players have to be in the court. You can't have court if you don't have all the players. You can't play chess proper without having all the chess players. That's why a default judgment is really weak, because you're missing one of the players. Okay. Yeah, I just thought I'd get up this morning and do this. I've been wishing to. Everything's up and down when you're healing. Yeah. Warning. Warning. Don't get old. Warning. Don't get old. Actually, I don't mind. I remember back, I used to look at, the millennium. Oh, geez, I'm going to be old when the millennium comes. Fuck, it come and went 20 years ago in the blink of an eye. Oh, yeah, get ready for all this stuff. So right now, because of folks' disdain and hatred for their fellow man, because of folks who, that claim to be spiritual leaders that are just, earning a living. People are getting picked on. People are being drawn up to court. I mean, listen, if you want to shut down society, okay, so everybody always talks about the 3%. The 3%. It was 3% of the people that did rebel against King George, and that brought independence. You have people on the other side, and then you have people that just were neutral, just wanted to keep their head in the sand, or were not able to pick a side. But everybody's able to pick. Everybody is. I don't care who you are. Everybody has something to offer. Oh yeah, that's why you're here. We're all here because we have something to offer. We are the best that our forefathers had to offer. That's why we survived this long. And now I've got transvestites trying to tell me what I need to do and how I need to make love to my beautiful wife, and what I can and can't do. I don't think so. Mind your own fucking business. Now, the one thing about these public servants, they have a right. Well, they have a right afforded to them. Okay, so none of the rights that any man or woman has on this land were afforded to them by public servants, by government, by societies. Okay, they're afforded to us by God. My right to breathe, number one. My right to go from point A to point B without any other one trespass upon me. All right, my right to forage a living. To forage for my necessities. That's a right. You can't tell me that I can't forage. And in these modern times, foraging has taken a different avenue. It's not that people live on acreages with the cow and some chickens and a big garden anymore. Not everybody lives that way. All right. Now these are the people that feed the city people that live in the condos. All right. I saw some pretty crappy attitudes from people in condos when the folks were marching for their freedom in Toronto, and yelling obscenities, and I think somebody threw something at somebody hit some young man with something off a balcony. Now that's harm, right? And you just cause that man harm and loss. The loss could be he can't work. Maybe he did still have a job and he can't work it now. Maybe a loss of his memory. Okay, so now he's going to lose his ability to forage a living, to forage out for his necessities, because somebody had a bad attitude. Somebody who is full of hatred towards their fellow man, who's just trying to stand up for what already belongs to them. Something that public service seems to wish to interfere with. They're public servants. They're not God. This is a common law land. This is not France. Nobody that acts as a public servant, civil servant or whatever, has the right to interfere with one's rights, because they're inalienable. They're unalienable. Okay? You cannot separate, because on common law lands, our Creator created us, and we created you to serve us, to protect property. And so your big excuse is the public good. So getting back to this goof here that acts as a heritage minister, okay? So instead of coming out with laws like, say, Poland did and Hungary did, saying to big tech, hey, you got to shut it down. You got to act accordingly. You can't interfere with somebody's rights. That's a trespass, right? you offer the platform. If you offer the platform's offered. Right? Now, you don't interfere with somebody's rights because they have a different political view or a different idea. Now, hate speech is already within the criminal code, but this guy wants to duplicate it and put it through. And what they will be teaching your kids, and getting back to this, the big lie they've been telling our kids and raising our kids with for the last 30 years, it's a grain of truth with a huge fucking lie behind it. It's like a drop. It's like, I say a drop of poison in a full glass of water turns the whole thing into poison. Okay, well, what they got is a drop of water in a glass of poison. And that's what being fed. And bad computer models, they're doing the exact same thing with this because they got away with it. They got away with it. And now they're figuring they can still get away with it. But I believe they're overstepping, which is the good news. I'm looking at a lot of people stressed and stressed out and depressed over this stuff. You wouldn't believe in just taking the time to put your thoughts down with pen, paper, and ink and sending it off to a public servant. And I'm not talking about derogatory thoughts. Like anytime I work with anybody, helping them write a document, I get them to puke it all on paper and then help them regurgitate it so it gets down to the point. So instead of the other side seeing a disgruntled infant or lunatic on the other end, they're seeing their boss, they're seeing their God, they're seeing their overlord. Something just went weird. Am I even being heard? Oh yeah, okay. It's hard to tell. Testing. Because it shows 3 on the bar. Yeah. Fuck to find them. Convoluted technology. All right. So give fair warning. Hey man, if you're going to go do your assembly, which is your right. So all this paperwork that you read, what do we got here? Hang on a second. All this freaking paperwork that, I was just doing some stuff, which I wanted to do through Streamlabs. So I was bringing up documents. I wonder if these guys can see that. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how this whole thing works. I don't think so. But it was just, I was bringing up the Emergency Act, the Constitution 1982. I was bringing up both covenants, civil and political rights, as well as the other one, the SSCT, XUV. Is crazy titles for these covenants. Now, if you look directly at these covenants, even the Nuremberg trial transcripts, okay? Now, the Nuremberg trial, everything is an opinion of somebody, all right? So anytime you're looking at, court judgments or whatever, it's an opinion, all right? I used to have certain opinions about things. And then as I experienced more in life, as I learned more and as my knowledge increased, my opinion changed. This is the fluidity of mankind. We are fluid. We are not stuck in a box. We are not held within this box on this piece of paper, So it's really, on the other thing, poor Mark, I was just, I'm typing away in the comment section on this thing. It's too funny. But whatever, I wasn't trying to harass the guy or nothing, but I listen to this stuff and even listening to the OPP, yeah, they have an oath, but that's their fucking oath and that's their society. Okay. The problem is, You're not going to hold a police officer to account. You're not going to hold a minister to account. Oh, getting back to the goof. Yeah. So how long is it going to be before, sorry about that, but how long is it going to be before this goof has this speech thing mandated through the schools? Okay, so now we're teaching 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds that they don't know who they are. Okay, that's a mandate in school now. And then we're going to teach them that, yeah, no, if your parents are talking hate speech at the dinner table, you need to rat them out. You need to tell us because we're the co-parent. Okay. And they're trying to claim that they maintain a higher position than mom or dad, than the authors of that property. The number one most imperative thing I can think that for any family to do, for any man or woman that has any kind of like intestinal fortitude of any kind, is to make sure that the corporate body, politic, gets your letter, gets your document to let them know that that is property. Now, you may address my property as such and such and such and such, and you put pictures of your property up there. But here's how we're going to run my property. Okay, Mr. Co-parent, Mrs. Co-parent. They're going to go and you're going to teach them, you know, the what is it, the writing, or how'd that used to go? See, they don't teach this shit anymore, but yeah. Oh, there used to be a saying about that, and it was a bit of a pun, but you know, they can teach them writing, they can teach them, you know, math. But you know, here's your to-do list. Here's what they're allowed to be taught. They're allowed to join phys ed, you know. Okay. Nothing else. Anything else must be by written permission. And do not assume or presume that property of I is that you are co-parented property of I. All right. Simple. Or if you wish to presume that you are co-parented property of I, this is how you can act. This is the only way you can act with property. Everything else will be a trespass unless you have written permission from I. Simple as that. I always tell parents, never sign form letters. The school send home form letters. You sign it, the kid goes on a fucking trip. There's no liability to that form letter. And that's what I'm saying. That instead of this goof, this heritage goof guy, you know, coming out to protect the rights of that he's supposed to be doing, the freedom of expression. Okay, that is on his mandate to make sure that that is protected. He's found a loophole, a legal loophole, and he's going after anybody who does wish to freely express themselves. It's a bad law. It's an unjust law. It's unlawful. Okay, it's illegal for him to do that shit. Just because he wishes to manipulate something, just because he finds a loophole, does not make it right, and it does not make it lawful. You know, there's so much like I sit here and I look at all these losers that are sucking off our tits, right? That are saying absolutely fuck all because they don't have to. What are you going to do? Who's going to replace them? Who are you going to vote for? They got a third of the country or better, you know, sucked into their bullshit, right? And so they're not scared of you. How are you going to hold them accountable? What the fuck are you going to do? You don't know how to hold court. You're going to go get yourself an attorney, and that attorney could be good, and that attorney could be not so good. And just because you have an attorney doesn't mean he thinks of everything. Everybody makes mistakes. If you hold court, okay, and you lose, that's fine because you learned something. So now hold a new court and do it again until you get it right. There's no limitation on your right to bring another to a public forum to explain themselves for their wrongdoing, for their inept actions, to the manslaughter of our old folks. Crown immunity is only supposed to be speak within chambers of the Privy Council. It's not supposed to apply to wrongful actions towards people, right? I saw a freaking poll that shows Jagmeet Singh, he's the only one who's like up in the polls. And I was thinking the other day of writing him a letter. Just, a lot of people don't understand. A lot of Canadians don't understand or see that. What was it, 500-600 years ago or so? When the terrorists entered pretty much India and were killing and enslaving folks, forcing them to convert to their ideology, to their religion, that the Sikhs were a community of folks and basically went from house to house within their community saying, come and fight, come and fight. And only a few did. Most people didn't want to fight. Most people were scared to fight. Most people were scared to stand. I think they killed like 50 million people, the invaders, within India. And so after they fought off this invading force of ideology, and not before this invading force burnt the oldest library in the world, burnt all the books of the oldest library. Can you imagine the knowledge, experience, and expression that just disappeared by book burning? It's unlawful within these common law nations to interfere with the writing of any book. I see them doing it now. They started inch by inch. Oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. Oh, hey, oh, yeah, you can't say that. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And that's, I've been watching it inch and inch and inch. So what they will be teaching your kids next after this poser, this goof, once he gets his bill passed, because nobody's coming against it. You think it's about hate speech and big tech. Well, they're redefining hate speech, but you think it's about, no, they should be passing a law that says, hey, quit interfering with people's free expression. People have a right to free speech on this land. It's not only a legal right, but it's a lawful right. It's part of our heritage, and everyone has that right. Now, if somebody steps off base publicly and says things that are within the criminal code, then isn't it the copper's job then to go and investigate? But what he's going to do is he's going to make it so that, well, I don't know, they can come to your house and make sure there's only 3 people in there instead of 4. They can come to your house and say, oh, you said this, and we've come to investigate you. Oh, wait a minute, that's already happening. That's already happening. They're polite now, but they won't be later when he gives the teeth. So the Sikh nation, these folks, they fought and they died. And so they started basically their own society. It's a religious society, but it's a warrior religious society. And from what I know, I don't know a lot about Jagmeet's people, right? But from what I do know is that these are hardworking and proud folks. Now, if Jagmeet doesn't come against this clown, his own people will be restricted. Okay, this is going to affect. Yeah, it may be great and wonderful that somebody from the Sikh community made such a, as a leader of a political party, right? But at the same time, how much harm, loss, and injury are going to come to the folks that he claims to be part of when they finish taking all the weapons, when they finish taking free speech, when they finish taking the right to travel, when they finish everything that they're fucking doing to us right now. If anybody should be against this thing, he should be. He should be, just from his own heritage and knowing what happens when tyrants take over. Anyways, that's just my free expression on the matter. All this is my free expression. It's just my expressed opinion. It's my expression. You know, I have a right to my expression. You know, if the platform people don't like it, I guess there's nothing I can do about it, is there? Or is there? All right. So you, why you, oh, you, us, you owe us. Every time somebody calls you, right? You remember that they're saying that you owe them. All right. And anytime somebody calls you, remember to say, why do I owe you? All right. How do I owe you? Why do I owe you? Tell me. Why do I owe you? I don't owe Canada. I don't owe BC. Canada owes me. It owes me the protection of property. British Columbia owes every man, every woman of and from this land. Not only to protect property and rights, but to protect our those who can't protect themselves. So instead of protecting those who can't protect themselves, they're taking public funding, not government funding. The government has no money. They're taking our funds and saying, well, you can't have any more of the public's money because you won't offer murder in your hospice that is totally has nothing to do with euthanasia. A hospice has absolutely nothing to do with, it's all about comfort in folks' last days and doing the best you can to spend your last days with your family, right? But they hate the family unit. You get rid of the family unit. Get the kids, man. You get those kids. Oh, they hear daddy talking bad about the politicians around the kitchen table. So he can report them to the school so that the school can then take the kid away from the family, or tell them to report as much as possible. Watch your dad and listen to every word he says. And we'll report it to CSIS. We'll report it to the RCMP. We'll report it to the new speak police that this goofball heritage minister is going to create. Yeah. So that's where we're at. That's where Canada's at. You know, so I look at, you know, folks standing up for themselves, and more power to it. And I agree, watching that show, that it was just the last one I think he did yesterday, interviewing that man who used to act as an OPP. You know, watching that actually made me feel good, except for driving me nuts, because I'm going to tell you, look, even if I did wish, even if I was a legal person, okay, the human rights, only the covenants are law. All right. You know, when they drew up the human rights, what the fuck's the name of it? Whatever. When they drew up the first one, 1945 and 1946, when they first started working on it, it was okay. This is what we wish to obtain. Okay. It's not a law. And so they spent, you know, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s before they actually got some covenants that they agreed that they could sign in law. And I think one was the social one was 1967, and the political one was 1966. The charter that were written by a bunch of old people in a faraway land for Canada. Now, this is all for Canada. It's nothing to do with you and I. Well, maybe you, but fucking has nothing to do with I as a man. You know, just as just a basic man, it has nothing to do with I. So now the thing is, the whole idea of what the fuck's the name of it? The human rights. It's not a covenant. The human rights bill. Mind blank. Fucking boomer shit. But anyways, the first one that was written up, everybody's always referring to. Okay, the two covenants that were written up are not to be thought as going against that document. Okay, so that document by itself is not a maintained position in its own right. It's the covenant of civil and political rights and the covenant of social rights. You know, those aren't the, come on, it's the USSPXYZ. I mean, these titles are just outrageous, you know. But I forget, I wrote them down. Whatever. Oh shit, I got them right here in front of me, actually. Okay. I got everything. Okay, so if you believe that your rights are derived from this, you're a loser. If you believe your rights are derived from that, you're a loser. If you believe the same. Okay, so what is it? The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So okay, and same with this covenant, and you know, so it's International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. What kind of fucking title is that? And International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights. Well, that ain't so bad. Okay, if you believe your rights are derived from these pieces of paper, you're fucked. Simple as that. Now, so these two documents, these were signed into law, 1976 and 1977. Now, it's not to construe the fact that these will not go against this. Now, even though this wasn't signed into law, you cannot enter a court and say, hey, blah, 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 blah. But you can enter a court and say, hey, blah, 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 blah. And if somebody tries to twist that, these documents stand on this document or maintain this document's position. So if some attorney wishes to turn this shit around and it says, hey, blah, 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 that actually means this, you can turn around and say, well, hang on a second. Not only do I believe it means something else, I believe that what you're saying goes against the founding document to which these were solidified into law. See, and so they work together. You can't hold this Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a single document, you know. But I'm just a legal fucking idiot. So what do I know? So I use all these things as to maintain as compare to. So these are my CFs. Right? I would never go into a court and saying I have this right because this says that and this says that and that says this. But I would go into court, or at court, depending on the circumstance. And I would appear at court and say, hang on a second, not only do I believe I have this right, okay? And not only is it my right, but it's the right of my people, which means the customs of my people, okay? My custom. But I believe the legal society maintains the same position. And then you throw this at them. You throw this in their face. What are they going to say? You're not using their shit. So they can't call you a poser. Okay? They can't laugh at you and make fun of you and say, yeah, sure, yeah. You know, and they do that. I mean, there are bad folks at the courts. There are, and then there's just those that wish to test you to see if there is a man actually standing at court. It's not in the benefit of any actor within the legal society or any actor within the corporate body politic or in the third branch of government, the judiciary, to lose standing, to lose their common law standing as mankind, as man. It's not in their interest. But it is in the corporate body politics interest to, if they wish to control their fellow man, to convince them that they're a lunatic, they're a person, they're a citizen, right? An infant, and that they are the co-parent, and So because you're that person, you need to be ruled because you don't know how to govern yourself because you're an infant. No man came up and said, hey, I'm here. You know, I know guys that write claim of rights and notice of understanding, claim of rights. I have no problem with that. Mine are different. I don't puke 29 pages in one document to throw at these guys. But I will send, hey, fair warning, claim a right. You know, it's not my wish to be seen as a legal person. You know, if you're dealing with me, it's as a man. It's not to be presumed or assumed. No, let your underlings know. So if you're talking to me, you're talking to a man. And I only talk man to man. I don't talk person to person. It's not my wish. Right? When I'm dealing with a public servant, when I'm dealing with government, it's man to man. I don't give a fuck what title you got. I'm not part of your society. You owe me a debt. You're operating on this land. I am of and from this land. The only difference between me and my Indian buddies is my Indian buddies have been of and from this land. Their family and their rights, as in their customs of their people, go back a lot longer than mine do. You know, mine might go back 100 years or so plus. Some other folks might go back 400 years. But these guys, you know, they go back like a couple thousand years that we know about. We don't know. We weren't there. But there is evidence that shows. So all I know is everyone, every man, every woman is of and from the land. We are all part of this land. And everything else is fucking man-made. All right. Well, that was kind of fun. We'll see how this. So just remember, what right do you have to administrate the property of I? Whether it's free speech, whether it's my movement, my right to assemble. Not only do I believe I have a right to assemble, but I believe the legal society maintains the same position compared to. And start fucking digging them out of here and throwing it back in their face. You're going to get a lot more respect standing up as a man than you are going to be as a legal person. You know, you want to put all this time in organizing protests and standing on the side of the road, you know, going anti-mask. It's not about masks. It's not about pandemics. It's not about bad speak. It's about the takeover of the free world. All right. And guess who's going to be the new boss? The guys that run Trudeau. Xi Jinping. You know, Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh owns and operates the politicians around here. And that's my free expression. But it sure looks that way. And they have taken over our institutions. And our institutions, the public servants that were there to serve you and I, seem to only be able to attack you and I. They're coming at us from 6 ways from Sunday. So yeah, it may have been 3% that took out King George, okay, which allowed the Republic to be born. All right, but at the same time, what we have now is they reverse the role. It's only the 3% that are now stifling and causing harm, loss, and injury to folks within this nation right now. So they've reversed that role. They're the 3% now. We you know, I'm looking at all these groups too. I'm seeing this group and that group and that group and that group and that. Yeah. You know, why couldn't a guy just organize the groups so that the groups can organize together, like having the groups converse with each other? You know, it's like these guys with this, what is it, the Wall Street bet thing, right? I go on there and on their Discord, and I just see people fucking bitch. You know, you get a group of people together, you got something good going, and all of a sudden there's internal fighting. Now, there are differences, and there needs to be proper discord. All right, where people can express themselves from what they see and what they're experiencing. But there's also shills that are all spies that are always put into these things, and their sole purpose. I had a group of buddies. We were doing some stuff together, and this and that. Nothing weird. And this one guy that I brought in to the fold, behind everybody's back, he was talking to one guy about that guy and what a bad guy he was. And then he'd say to me, oh, yeah, what a bad guy he was. And the only problem was he was talking about my brothers. And I apologized to everybody for letting this guy fucking hang with us. And we dumped him, right? So you got to watch for those shills, those interlopers. But it'd be nice to see, the Wexit, the Saskatchewan, the Unify, it would be nice to see. Maybe having a spokesperson for each to talk to the other spokespersons for each. Maybe even do some Discord together, public Discord together. Some Zoom calls or whatever you fucking millennials do on these things is kind of cool. That I'm still trying to figure out, but fuck it, I'm going to figure it out because I ain't dead yet. But anyways, this is what I'd like to see. I'd like to see people come together, at least maybe not, but at least talk to each other, like the Plaid Army. I remember when Mark left the Plaid Army because he has his own ideas. He has his own thinking and his way he did wish to do and conduct himself. And, and then we have the boys over here. Yeah. Which is funny. The awesome movie they did, that little movie they did, that was like, Trailer Park Boys grade, awesome, SCTV grade, better than, really good, really, really good. Genuine great stuff. But if you haven't seen it, you should find it. I forget the guy who's got it. I copied it and kept it just so I could show my friends. But I can't remember the young guy's site it's on. I don't know if he got booted off yet or not, because everybody's getting booted around. But my whole idea was, as I was getting better, is I'd like to start up a union, for folks, a folks' union. We can put our differences aside and just unionize ourselves and then come at our public servants to put them back in their fucking box. This is your mandate, dude. Stick within your mandate. Your mandate is not to misrepresent or find loopholes how you can attack the general public. Your mandate is actually protect property of the general public, and your excuses over protecting hurt feelings is not in your fucking mandate. Your pseudoscience as fact when it's never even been a proper discord between real scientists and your paid off shills that just make computer models that just show whatever you wish. It's a proven fact, and I can prove it because 30 years ago they said New York, Manhattan was going to be underwater. It's the same. It's no fucking different. Look at Tory's place. You see that Tory dude that acts as mayor of Teo, or is supposed to be acting as mayor of Teo. You see his joint right there in Florida on the ocean, that $10 million fucking mansion where people are holding parties and having friends over and doing whatever they wish. You see his fucking place? Is it underwater? No. Was the water any lower or higher 30 years ago? No. Same shit. Same shit. Just keep telling the lie big enough. Bolsheviks, Bolsheviks, Bolsheviks. That's Russian for bullshit. Anyways, those are my thoughts. And if you don't like them, not my fucking problem.